بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ألهمنا مراشد أمورنا وأعذنا من شرور أنفسنا. Where we ended off last week is to try to explain that contrary to how the whole world sees success, for everybody else success means money. That is why when a boy is studying, the peak of success means how much you'll earn. That's all. Whether that money will give him happiness, it will give him contentment, it will make him smile, it will demand that he must become rude, aggressive, he must become a Fir'aun. All of that is not looked at. As long as you earn lot, it means you're successful. The entire world has moved. It is only the Sunnah that showed a different picture of wealth. That it showed wealth as an uzr. That strength is in faqr. Babu fadl al-faqri. The great honor of poverty. Never in the world you'll hear a thing like that. The honor of poverty. وَمَا جَاءَ فِي عَيْشِ رَسُولِ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. What has been narrated regarding the life of the greatest man, meaning the highest level of poverty. And the purpose of it was, as I said, none of us are ready to become poor. But at least so much we can understand that a rich man is called the ma'zur. He's the person who's sitting on a chair in the masjid. But the person who's standing is not supposed to look at the man sitting and saying, I wish I could be sitting. But the whole world has moved like that. Everyone wants to be rich. There was a time when the ulama had a statement, رَضِينَا بِقِسْمَةِ الْجَبَّارِ فِينَا لَنَا عِلْمُ وَلِلْجُحَّالِ مَالِ. That we are so happy with Allah's division amongst us. That He has left knowledge for us, the inheritance of the Anbiya alayhimus salam. And for those who have not been given knowledge, He has given them wealth. What a sentence it was, how nice it sounded. And really the people who said it, it's attributed to Ali radiallahu anhu. They really lived up to it. رَضِينَا بِقِسْمَةِ الْجَبَّارِ فِينَا. They lived up to it, meaning the time when the world's wealth came to them. They still showed, we don't want it. لَنَا عِلْمُ وَلِلْجُحَالِ مَالِ. But then the whole world changed, and we landed up in the changed world. In a changed world, many things which you once upon a time thought was so normal became abnormal. What was known once upon a time was completely forgotten. Everything changed. The only one unique thing about Islam is that Islam could preserve it at least. If not in practice with people, but in writing you could find it. Everywhere else you can't even find it. Say to a Jew, you know what's your reality? Once upon a time you also made sajda. The Jew also made sajda once upon a time. Proper sajda. On a carpet, taking out his shoes. But he'll say, I don't see it. I don't see it. Say Islam is that one that it will show you here, it's here, you can't miss it. The only unique thing is that everyone who will read this chapter, Babu Fadl al-Faqr, for some reason the mind will say, this is not possible. To love poverty is impossible. Whereas there was a time when people really loved poverty. It was an honor for them. When me and you read that hadith where a Sahabi radiallahu anh came and he said, Oh Allah's Nabi, I love you. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, think what you are saying. He said, I love you. He said, then be ready for poverty. Prepare your shield for poverty. Because poverty comes so fast to the one who claims he loves me. Like how when the floods are moving and it goes downstream. When me and you read that narration, it just... There were people in the past who would then stand up and say, Oh Allah's Nabi, I love you. And I'm ready for it. Me and you, we can't think about such a thing. Babu Fadl al-Faqri. But at least to see it written there, to understand once upon a time, this was the honor. So much it will make us realize that Ghina, wealth, is an udhr. It's not the asal. And if Allah has blessed us with knowledge, we're not asking now that me and you must say, I'm happy with knowledge, I don't want wealth. But the opposite mustn't be said, which is happening. That the people of knowledge have today started saying, I want wealth even if knowledge goes. But I want wealth. The main thing is that wealth. رَضِينَا بِقِسْمَةِ الْجَبَّارِ فِينَا. Allah's division amongst us. That wealth and knowledge just don't go together. I am so happy that wealth is coming my way, even if knowledge has to go. So that is one, the whole world, how it sees things. In the chapter is this narration where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting. It was a hadith to teach man how you look at the world, how the world looks at the world, how the world's supposed to look at the world. Because everyone wants to be great. The desire for azmat, greatness, is a natural tabiyat in man. But amazing this desire is to be great. The question is always asked, where great? If that man's desire is to be great in the eyes of Allah, he'll walk a different line. And if his desire is to be great in the eyes of man, he'll walk in a different line. When man wants to be great in the eyes of man, automatically hasad will start. When man wants to be a great alim also. But if he's finding jealousy, it means you want to be a great alim, not in the eyes of Allah, but in the eyes of the world, because jealousy with Almighty Allah can't come. It's a unique thing of the Zat of Almighty Allah. Hazrat Hakim Sahib Rahimullah would mention this, that so amazing it is in the world of love, that when a girl is chosen as the beloved, then every lover of her will hate each other. You'll never see four boys who like one girl, and all of them are saying, hey, how's she, and how far are you getting, and I'm getting so far. And one will say, come let me help you, I'll wake you up to go and knock at her door. He said, in the love of a girl, it's only hatred amongst the lovers. Each one hates the other. He said, amazing is the love of Almighty Allah. It is the only Zat that between the lovers of Allah there is even more unity. Many years ago when the conflict was taking place, like which tabaqa of deen does the real work? Nowadays, alhamdulillah, that has died off completely. But once upon a time, it is like, who's doing the work? So in one place, it was the madaris. They would say, yahi asal hai. That if there's no madaris, and they would say, najat ka madar, fadail par nahi, masail par hai. That to get najat, you don't need fadail. You need masail. If you don't know how to make wuzu, you can know all the fadail of wuzu. Wuzu won't take place. So they said, our madrasa is the asal. And then there was another tabaqa who said, no, fadail is the asal. To sit in a madrasa doesn't benefit anything. You have to go out. And then they said, kamal is in the cloud. The cloud goes to the place where there's no water. There's no kamal in the well that says, the people, you come and look for us. So that party told the madaris that you all are like a well, we are like the cloud. So they had their view. And then there was the khanka. The khanka would say that without ikhlas, you can do what you want teaching Bukhari. You can go around the world, you got no ikhlas, all Jahannami. We only going to go to Jannah. So much of ikhtilaf, once upon a time. Now, alhamdulillah, practically to a great extent, Allah Tabarak Ta'ala has broken this. So during that zamana, one alim came and he gave a nice waqiyah. He said one alim tried to calm the people when they were going in this. So he explained there was a king. And 3 people wanted to marry his daughter, 3 princes from different lands. And he understood whoever he gives his daughter to, the other 2 lands will become his enemy. Those kings will get angry. That's what our sons did. So to make everyone happy, he said to all 3 kings, I respect, I love your son and I love your son and I love, but all can't get my daughter. So I'm going to give each one 1 year. And from my own treasury, I'll give them whatever funds they need. That he must go out in 1 year and find a talent that you can't find it in the world. And if he can get that talent and it shocks us, then my daughter will look at each one's talent and then she'll choose the best talent. So the boy, there's nothing wrong with the boy, it's the talent
On that she'll make the choice. So you can't be upset with me after. So 3 went out. And after 1 year, when each one was coming back, so the one went, and somewhere in the world he learned. Perhaps he had a mirror or in his hand, whatever he had, that you could look in it. And then if someone says to me, you tell me about this person. How's this person? So you look in your hand and you say, at the moment this person is like this. So that was the one talent he got. Another one got a talent that a certain medicine he found in the world, that if that person is given that medicine, it will push away even death. So if you're on the brink of death and you manage to get that medicine, then you come right. You'll never get, but this is a story. So in a story you can get anything. So you got the medicine. And the third one found the talent that in the blink of an eye, like how the jinn went, or how that advisor of Sulaiman alayhi salam went. So in the blink of an eye, he could go through time, and he could land up somewhere else and grab, or take one whole jamaat with him, let's go. And from here he lands up in America. It's called Tayyul Ard. That the whole land comes close and you just make the journey fast. So 3 of them, each one got his talent, and each one said, what I got the girl. Because in the talent, there's no talent like this. But when they landed up by the king was so amazed. So the king said, okay, let's try it. So he said to the first one that you at the moment, you tell me how's my daughter. So he looked in his hand and he started pondering. But then when he looked and he saw the picture of the daughter, he was shocked. So he showed the king. Because the daughter was not there. Maybe the king had come to visit them, or maybe the daughter had gone somewhere. Whatever had happened, the daughter had become extremely ill. So she was lying in a state where she was going to die in the next few minutes or hours. So he said, do you know this is your daughter? The king said, no one told me. So he turned to the second person and he said, as quick as possible, take us all jumped in the aeroplane of time. And he just closed his eyes, and suddenly they landed by the dying daughter. But when they landed there, he said to the third person, you got your medicine? So he gave the medicine. And suddenly she was saved. So the king now had to thank. So that alim then asked now, that who saved the daughter? Who saved the daughter? So he said, had the first one not found out she was sick, the talents of the other 2 would have done nothing. After finding out she's sick, had they not been able to reach there, his talent and the last would have done nothing. And if they reach there, and they never have the medicine of life, then reaching there would have done nothing. They would have been there for janazah. What else? So he said, who saved the daughter? He said, the daughter was saved by a united effort. And if any one effort was pulled out, the girl would have gone. And then he explained, in the world, Allah Ta'ala created unique tabaqas of deen. He said, one is the tabaqah of the ulama. He says, although they're sitting in one place and looking like they're doing nothing, but in the light of Quran and Sunnah, they can tell you halat of the world. They can tell you signs of qiyamah. They can tell you fitans that are taking place. They are telling, this is also mentioned in Quran, that's also mentioned in Quran. See, this is also going to happen, that's also going to happen. They can tell you what's going to happen, they can tell you halat. They can tell you the past, they can tell you the future. He says, without that knowledge, but he says, having that knowledge, however, how are you going to get to the ummah? So Allah Ta'ala created another tabaqah. They are the moving tabaqah in the world. That they go around the world so that this knowledge can reach wherever it has to reach. He says, but after reaching those places in far places and pulling those people, he says those people still need a hospital in the end of the day. So then they have something called a spiritual doctor, a sheikh. He says if he doesn't give that medicine, just getting that person from Alaska and bringing him to the masjid, he says the work is still not done. He said you need a united effort. So everyone said, wah, like what a top example. So one person then asked, but I want to know who married the girl. Because some people, they only worried about princess. That's the only fikr. Now there the guy was stumped. So he said, no, it's a story. So if I'm not mistaken, at that time, Hazrat Maulana Abdul Hamid Sahib Damat Barakatuh then mentioned this point. He said, but amazing in the love of Almighty Allah, that for that girl in the ending, only one can get her. And the other two will be given some money and says, good job. But by Almighty Allah, all three will get Allah. And there's no jealousy in between. A greatness if you're searching for by Allah, there'll never be jealousy. There'll never be enmity. There'll never be hatred. But if greatness is in the nas, that's when you will see this jealousy. Why is he speaking? Why can't I speak? To be great in the eyes of Allah. Sometimes a man will prefer, I don't want to give the bayan, let him give the bayan. Because to be great in the eyes of Allah doesn't need you speaking. To be great in the eyes of Allah, I can be quiet and we can be great. I can be crying and I can be great. I can be known, I cannot be known. To be great by Almighty Allah, there's no jealousy. But to be great in the eyes of people, there's conflict, there's hatred. If he wrote one book, I will write 2 books. If he got one madrasa, 3 floors, I'll put up 4 floors. If he got 400, I must have 410. The whole thing is just on that fight. Every time something happens there, it itches me here. There'll never be dua for each other, love for each other. But suddenly when Allah becomes the object, he said the ashiks of Allah, they got a unique love amongst themselves. Because each one understands to get closer to my Allah, demands that I must love his friend even more. فَأَحَبُّ الْخَلْقِ إِلَى اللَّهِ مَنْ أَحْسَنَ إِلَىٰ إِيَالِهِ. So you will see one wali of Allah going in front of the other like a student. You will say, Hazrat, make dua for me. That one will stand up, he say, no, you make dua for me. One will take out his turban and he'll say, I want to put it. He wants to put it by his feet. The other one will take it and kiss it. So much of love you will find because each one understands, in respecting him, I'm going closer to Allah. But when it is in the nas, it's just a fight till the day you die. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, while sitting, one person walked past. So this is the point here. Everyone wants to be great. But great where? The world has taught us money. Money doesn't make you great by Allah. That's where you'll understand fadlul faqr. Can a poor man be great? So the sunnah has shown, yes, sometimes the poor man is much greater. And for a rich man to be greater than a poor man is not easy. For a rich man to be greater than a poor man, where the world will say, a rich man is great. The sunnah showed the opposite. That the rich man is ma'zur. The fuqara will be 40 years in front of the ghaniya. The poor will be 40 years before the rich in paradise enjoying. If you want to be a rich man, and you want to beat the poor in getting into Jannah, you will have to be a unique rich man. Unique. Which Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam then said, وَقَلِيلٌ مَّاهُمْ. Very few they are like that. There are those rich ones who still right in front. But it is not easy. A poor man to get pride is not easy. A rich man not to have pride is not easy. It's natural. A poor man to be hard and stingy is not, it's not easy for him to be stingy. For a rich man not to be stingy is not easy. Because the poor man is walking, you'll see sometimes, you'll give him 2 rand. And you'll tell him, give the other guy half. There and there he'll pull out 1 rand and give his friend. That 1 rand is half his fortune. But for him to give half his fortune is like nothing. Yes, here's it. And he just smiles. Sometimes he'll even give the whole 2 rand. You'll say, you gave your whole wealth. 1 shot. And go to the rich man and say, give half your wealth. Can't give half wealth. For a poor man to be generous and give all his wealth is very easy. For a rich man it's not easy. For a poor man not to be jealous, it's very easy for him. He's not jealous of anyone. Actually, he likes you. You're a rich man. When you drive in with your BM, he gets more happy. You say, boss, because you know BM at least give me 5 rand. He doesn't get jealous about your BM. A rich man, when you drive in with the BM, he starts getting upset. Why he got a newer one? A lot of difficulties come with wealth. A lot of difficulties. Understand it's a udhar. It is not a thing that, I wish. And if Allah Ta'ala keeps us a little back, we're not saying in faqr, but a little back from wealth, enjoy. رَضِينَا بِقِسْمَةِ الْجَبَّارِ فِينَا. When wealth comes, it comes with its sicknesses, it comes with its diseases. There were those families that said, we lived many years in difficulty. But in difficulty, there was always love. At night, they would sleep together. They would talk before sleeping. They would read something. The child would say, Mommy, I love you. Daddy, I love you. The father had one fikr, how one day it can be that my child can go to school and he doesn't have to have old shoes. He can have new shoes and he can have new clothing. One fikr he had. And then things started changing and he got that wealth. And then he started working harder. Suddenly the child got good clothing, good shoes. But suddenly at night the child wasn't with the parents anymore. Because now the father is coming home and he got so much of headaches. Suddenly the husband and the wife were not so close again. And then the person wrote that wealth destroyed my whole family. Wealth. He said that very wealth that we died for, when it came, it made my child into an addict and it made my husband into a butcher. Meaning like wild. He fell in love with another girl and because of that, he and his wife would fight. The child would hear the screams, the arguments. This is wealth destroyed us. When you got so much of shauq that I want it. Radina bi qismatil jabbar. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sitting. So he said to a man who was sitting next to him, as somebody passed, he said, Ma ra'yuka fi hadha. What a sentence it was. He said, what do you feel about this? I think he was speaking to the people of knowledge. Rajulun indahu jalisun. There was someone sitting with the Rasul of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They don't mention who the person was. But if you want to really know who it was me, it was you. Because me and you are the ones sitting by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Then the poem comes, Marhaban li talibil ilm. Mubarak to you, O students of knowledge. He says, because your breath enjoys the suhbah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Anfasuhu, your breath is like a sahabi. Every time you're saying sallallahu alaihi wasallam, every time you're hearing qala Rasulullah. So you sitting, I'm sitting. So as though Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam is saying to me and you, why? Because if our mind is not made right, you cannot expect the world to come right after that. Which one great scholar said that you, O ulama, you are mil'ul ard. You are the milh. Mil means the salt of the world. You have said, Ya milhut ta'am. He said, you are the salt of the earth. He says, but what will make the earth right if the salt itself is spoiled? That's what happened today. What was supposed to be the medicine went off. That salt, if it entered anyway, it would clean every germ. He said, the problem is the salt is the germ now. So he said, now what will make things right? إِذَا فَسَدَ الْمِلْحِ فَمَاذَا يُصْلِحُ الطَّعَامِ إِذَا فَسَدَ الْمِلْحِ. If the salt itself is off, what's going to put the food right after that? So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to a person sitting by him, that person is me and you. He said, Ma ra'yuka. What do you think of that person? So who was that person? That person was a rich man. So who's answering? Me and you are answering. The Sahabi radiallahu anh said, Hada rajulun min ashrafin nas. That this is a very great man. He's a sharif, noble, honorable. I'm answering, you answering, because as soon as I saw a smart car, it means great man. And then he said, Hada hariyun wallah. By the qasam of Allah, this man is hariyun means most right, it will be most appropriate. In nakaha ayyunkah. If he has to bring a proposal for marriage, they won't even say, I'll speak to my daughter. Immediately they'll say, yeah. They're so thrilled about it. In nakaha ayyunkah. Wa in shafa'a ayyushaffa'. And if he comes to the house and he says, someone got a problem, before he even mentions, don't worry, sort it out. Because you're such a great man, you came to my house, I'm honored with your visit. Look at the word of the narration. فَسَكَّتَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. When Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam kept quiet, sometimes he would keep quiet because of, he would be like upset. What we will say like, the teacher was disappointed with the answer of the student. That fasakata means that me and you gave that answer. And Allah's Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam just kept quiet. Kept quiet means I'm disappointed with your answer. But me and you are giving that answer, isn't it? When we see immediately a rich man, you say, wow. Fasakata Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. After a while, another person walked past. So Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam looked up and he said, Ma ra'yuka fi hadha. So the Sahabi radiallahu anh said, this is a faqir min fuqara'il muslimin. This man doesn't have anything. He's one of the poor people. He says, hariyun in nakaha alla yunkaha. Most likely if he goes to a house and says, I'm interested in marrying your daughter, the first thing they'll say, but you're not working. So, how can I even think about it? Don't blame me, but get a job. وَإِن شَفَعَ أَلَّا يُشَفَّعَ. If he comes to make some intercession, he says, no one's going to listen. وَإِن قَالَ أَلَّا يُسْمَعَ. Even if he talks and he says, listen to me, no one bothers. Everyone wants to be great. But what does hadith taught? That greatness in the eyes of Allah is not how the world sees greatness. Then Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam ended the thing. He said, هَذَا خَيْرٌ مِّن مِلْءِ الْأَرْضِ مِثْلُ هَذَا. That if that one, the whole world has to be filled with him. And I'll bring this other one on the side, he will be better than the entire world of this one. Faqr doesn't mean you low, and well doesn't mean you great. Greatness in the eyes of Allah got a different story completely. As I said at the beginning, when I looked at this chapter, Babu Fadl al-Faqr, the first thought I thought about, to speak about faqr, people like death. Once upon a time we would give bayans on death. People say, don't speak about death, someone will die. Every day someone dies, every day. I don't know what the story is, they'll die. After you started speaking about death, people started loving death. Faqr you have to speak about, so at least a thought comes that there is something to be loved here. It's not to run away from. If you can't run towards it, at least don't run away from it. Learn what it is. It's not a disgrace, faqr, number one. It is actually an honor. It is not the udhr, it's actually the asal. Me and you are the ma'zur. We love wealth, but at least feel bad about it. Don't be thrilled about it. Please feel bad about it. When you will feel bad, you will not show off your love for wealth. You will keep it in. It's like a person who loves cricket, loves soccer. One is he doesn't feel anything wrong about it. So he could be the imam of the masjid also. He'll make assalamu alaikum. Then he'll turn around, you'll think he's turning around to sit in the sunnah direction. He's turning around to ask the man behind, what's the score? Because he doesn't feel bad about it. And another is that imam who was told that this is not the real thing. So he, while he is performing his salah, he wants to know the score also. Soon as he makes salam, he wants someone to say the score, so he listen. But because he's feeling bad, he won't ask. At least he feels bad about it. A time came where people stopped understanding faqr is the asal. And wealth is not the asal. So you'll see when they talk, even if it's the people of knowledge, they only talk of wealth. They only say, you know how much he's earning. You saw the car he's driving. What a house he put up. It's only wealth, it's only wealth. Whereas if you could understand that is the uzr, then you will never talk like that. Then you will show amazement. You will say, I went to his house and I saw there was no bed at all in the house. You'll say, wow. You say, I went in the house and I saw that there was leaks taking place. You'll say, wow. You won't laugh at it. You'll say, this was the man who resembled the Rasul of Allah, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the closest. Wow, at least. You'll be amazed. So much at least, Babu Fadl al-Faqri. Let us become amazed with what is real. So that at least we will start understanding a sickness to be a sickness. We're living in a time where wealth is the biggest sickness. وَفِتْنَةُ أُمَّتِي الْمَالِ. The fitna of woman, at least people understood it as a woman, as a fitna. They go wild for women, but at least they understood this is wrong. But wealth, you will not find anyone saying it's wrong. They only want. وَفِتْنَةُ أُمَّتِي الْمَالِ. Wealth is also a trap for this ummah. A major trap. Please understand the asal. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala bless us all. Think of this narration, especially that one sentence. فَسَكَتَ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ صَلَّى اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ وَسَلَّمَ. When the man said, wow, like he's a great man, Allah's Nabi ﷺ just kept quiet. That keeping quiet means, I'm not happy with your answer. Disappointed at your answer. It's though he's telling me, he's telling you. I am not happy with your rai. And then he's changing our mind. And he says, Hada, wallah, this man, he's better than the other, whole earth of the other. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala put it in our hearts. Work for being great in the eyes of Almighty Allah. Make Allah Tabarak Ta'ala our maqsad. The Zat of Almighty Allah. Jealousy will fall. Hatred will fall. Fights will fall. Because we will understand, for Allah, the more I love everyone around me, the more beloved I come to Almighty Allah. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala make us all amongst His most beloved, most selected servants. May Allah Tabarak Ta'ala protect us from the fitans of wealth, protect us from the fitan of woman. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.